consume, enhance, replicate, exist. Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly. Last episode I kinda teased at what this is about. Some of you have been waiting for me to cover this theory with bated breath. After being pushed to do so by a follower named SMKR Pineapple, we put our heads together to try and work out the information of SIVA and the Awoken. You can find anything related to Pineapple in the description as the first links. He's going to try his hand at lore and other things Destiny since he has quite the passion for it. Per usual, this is a theory, but there's a lot to back it up, so let's get into it. First of all, what is SIVA? Recipient: Assembly of Masters, S14 Cryptarchy. Sender: Tyra Karn. Subject: SIVA. Sub-entries: Nanotech, Self-Assembling Materials, Cosmodrome, Warmind, Iron Lords, Clovis Bray. Summary: we must reopen all previous entries on SIVA. What we once believed to be a colonial tool of the Warminds destroyed long ago appears to be active again. This time there is no sign of any active Rasputin networks. My summation: SIVA is actually a nanotechnology capable of breaking down any existing matter, very similar to Glimmer. Unfortunately, these SIVA mites reuse the energy and matter based on a set of programmable directives. SIVA does not cease until said directives are complete. I fear what this could mean for us all and suggest we instigate a system-wide scan for anything bearing the enclosed signatures. SIVA is a small nanite that was created by Clovis Bray. It is directly linked to the events of what happened before Rise of Iron's release with the presentation of Owl Sector. Remember those floating, buzzing colors above our heads that made us wish we had the Nightfall bonus back before it was reintroduced? That's what we're referring to. It's a machine, but it's a type of biomachinery. It seems to not have the ability to form itself without some kind of biomatter introduced to it. SIVA happens to be a very rampant form of these injections, a form that always looks for a way to consume, enhance, replicate. I can feel the mites buzzing, pushing against my submind. They try to steal fragments of memory, but I do not let them. They have no will, but they want to be. I exert electronic will, pushing, shaping, forcing stasis on perpetual motion. They are quiet then, but I can still sense them. Where once my cargo holds were full of tools and weapons and materials, now they hold barely contained possibility. New worlds will be built from these tiny mites, weapons and cities and ships created by thought and science. I fear my will is not strong enough to shape these worlds. Only the Tyrant can do that, but he will not be a part of my journey. Even his reach has limits, and we will be 9 billion miles away. I whisper my concerns to the Tyrant in tiny magnetic bursts. He does not listen. The Tyrant says, "Take the SIVA," and so I take the SIVA. The Tyrant says, "Go to the stars," and so I go to the stars. Point of reference here. Tyrant is another name for Rasputin. We see this in the Old Russia 3 Grimoire card. I'm just saying it to save time at this point. So much to cover. SIVA wants to exist. It wants to be. We see the full extent of this with the splicers and how they constantly seem to adapt different means to further their cause. The same was effectively true of a conversation that happened centuries ago with Willa Bray and a Golden Age general named Lanshu. Let's get right to it. How can Clovis Bray help the Exodus project? We found a way to push our matter encryption technology even further. Habitats, equipment, repairs of all kinds, all of these things can be made from one material. SIVA doesn't expire, degrade, or forget. It can remain dormant even on long voyages. Nearly any problem a deep space colonist could have, SIVA can fix. And how long do the effects of SIVA last? Well, SIVA requires no external power source, so forever. Just give it a directive and it won't stop until it gets a new directive. This sounds like it could be invaluable to the Exodus colonists, but Mahalayati has some concerns. General, poorly worded or malicious code is the fault of the programmer, not SIVA itself. Dr. Bray, I'm sure you've realized SIVA's applications extend beyond colonization. I'm not sure what you mean, General. Is this still about the Exodus program? The Exodus program would be interested in exploring SIVA's defensive applications. General, my team did not intend for SIVA to have military applications. Willa, some of history's greatest inventions began as unintended side effects. The idea here is that SIVA was going to be used in the colonization efforts, either in buildings or possibly in injections to the colonists. General Anshu was the one in charge of this operation. She seemingly wanted to push up the operations as best she could, again illustrated in the Old Russia 3 card. It's unknown why, aside from simply being prepared, which is what she tells her submine, Mahalayati. Goodness, there's the submines. We should all be familiar with the idea of a war mind, and namely one of the largest being Rasputin. A submind seemed to be in charge of overseeing smaller operations around the Golden Age world. This is shown in a few cards, one large one being Old Russia 2 and the Exodus Red. As pointed out before, the Exodus Project is used to refer to the colonization effort. Within this card is the musings of a submind. To read a few lines, why? I keep saying this, but I very much doubt anyone will listen. The humans are too slow or too dead, and the tyrant, bless his intellect, vastly does it surpass my own, is far too busy to comfort one forlorn colony ship and its machine mind. I am peaceful by nature. These great matters of eschatology bewilder me. My one love is my ship and the people aboard it. In a fuzzy sense, I suppose I also love to dream of the worlds I'll help make, flowers I'll plant, if you'll grant me poetry enough to think of my passengers as seeds. But if you read this, at least something has survived. To you, then, brave future soul, from the frightened mind of an old ship, best wishes, and Godspeed. These few phrases are meant to show that subminds have feelings, or are able to feel. They also have an expressed connection with Rasputin. Colony ships filled with colonists or escaping humans trying to leave Earth in desperation with the collapse upon them. Subminds controlling the ships they are on board. SIVA stuffed in the cargo holds for these colonists to use. All of these seem to collide together at one point: the reef. Whether you believe in the theory that Rasputin blew a hole in the Traveler or not, there's a gaping hole in the Traveler that's proof something heard it. Before this, however, it's felt a blast of light from the Traveler was what pushed the darkness back. With our ships out of Earth's orbit and the attacks from the darkness itself, this blast is felt to have slammed into our own colony ships just the same. The fate of those escaping during the collapse was once unknown. But here drifts a graveyard of lost ships, and among them, the realm of the Awoken. Ruled by a queen few have seen, they have long avoided contact with the city. The asteroid belt is a great band of nothingness, speckled with unimaginable wealth. Once a treasure trove for Golden Age industry, the belt is now a haunted place where fallen pirates and Awoken patrols skirmish among the whispering carcasses of ancient machines. Among the asteroids drifts the reef, lashed together from the ruined ships of an ancient exodus. Here the Queen rules over the Awoken, the farthest known light of civilization. Golden Age ships laced amongst a ton of asteroids, all holding lost Golden Age tech that could help solve dozens of mysteries. And in their holds, SIVA, which Rasputin urged the subminds to take with them. SIVA itself is a product of research on light. It is manufactured by and coded by humans, but as we've seen, SIVA tried to interface itself with a submine on board one of the colony ships after it felt SIVA push against its will. The submines seem to be linked to Rasputin to a point, but we have seen ships in contact with one another, helping to make decisions for humans on board and presenting theories on battle calculations and so on. SIVA displays it too works together as a collective, able to communicate as a hive mind. And finally, with all of this out of the way, all this preamble and all this exposition, we get to the linking factor. Queen Marasov herself. I am noble too, O Lord of Wolves. Starlight was my mother, and my father was the dark. The Queen of the Awoken is as much an enigma as the reef she rules. It is said that she won her crown through ruthlessness, and that she stands as master of the fallen House of Wolves in place of their defeated Kel. The city's rise spells an end to the reef's age of isolation. The Queen will surely look to this new era as an opportunity, and the city in turn must look to her. The Reefborn Awoken have spent long ages out on the edge of everything, and they may know secrets of terrible weight. The Queen, most of all. The Queen of the Awoken displays so many of the abilities of SIVA, able to link itself from single mind to many. In our long-range communications, an aggravated sigh. Mara, it's a miracle any of us are still alive. You will address her as Queen, Teshiun Shuro cut in. Sorry, my apologies, Queen. The engineer ran a dirty hand through her matted hair. No long-range comms, no short-range comms either. Not that there'd be anyone on the listening end either, from what I can see. My Queen, she added hastily as Shuro glared. Comms are no longer a priority, said Mara. Focus on resealing the hulls and any other habitable vessels we have. Bring anything you can as close to Vesta as possible. The closer people are to me, the safer they are. The engineer nodded uncertainly. Yes, my Queen. Mara nodded. You may go. The engineer bowed and left the room. As soon as the hatch closed behind her, Mara raised her hand. At once, the Teshiuns gathered around her. Shall we try again, my Queen? Said Sadia. Mara slid off her throne. Yes. The Teshiun's jewel-like augments flashed as they circled around her. Mara closed her eyes. A hum rose from the Teshiuns, the notes fracturing into harmonies as, from the shadows, hundreds of tiny blue sparks burst to life before her. Then Mara inclined her head, and the sparks began to rush by as if she was plunging through them, each streak of blue burning a swath in her vision. As the last spark vanished, Mara saw darkness once again, a long, stretching, empty darkness. Then another cloud of sparks burst forth. These were smaller than the others, their tiny flames guttering and flickering, and there were fewer of them too. But Mara inhaled, and the sparks rushed toward her, growing bigger as they flew. We should have stayed in the reef. Says there's one city left, a city beneath the Traveler. At least we're not in the reef. The voices broke over Mara like a wave, and for a moment she spun in the currents. Now in the flames, shapes began to form. A crashed ship, a blue-skinned hand clasping a brown one, a half-built wall high above the treetops. You who betrayed us for Earth, Mara thought. It is I, your Queen. I will grant you one chance to return, or you will not be welcomed back. But the tides of voices never wavered. The Queen is able to reach out with her mind with the help of the Teshiun witches, a group of which seems to mix technology and the supernatural. Subminds seem to work in the same way, requiring some kind of amplifier to keep in contact with Rasputin as a whole, and SIVA was no different, being able to communicate amongst the whole of its being, no matter where it seems it may be. I would argue that her communicative powers weren't given to her simply by being awoken, as it seems the others are able to hear her, but not use this power in the same way. There is something else that links them together. If all of these forces should find themselves pushed together, like in a catastrophic event of pure light from that of the Traveler, SIVA itself being filled with the knowledge of light, having the essence of the void surrounding it, with biomatter of humans on board ships, well, it seems like the perfect catalyst. SIVA infects the colonists. The light of the Traveler exposes SIVA to a new knowledge of how to make itself work. Meanwhile, the Queen is a human that was in possession of a submind, winning out over the other possible owners of subminds, while the Teshiun witches help to amplify her powers through the crystals that they wear around their necks. After all, this link that it seems she demonstrates is only to the Awoken, and even then to non-Guardian Awoken. And which part scared me? Inside me was an essence woven from beyond. Was I awoken before this? She was still in my head. I could hear her song growing fainter. Gone? Not yet. A new crippling terror was taking over. I was focused entirely on my fear, but I had to make an effort. And it occurred to me then that nothing in the universe was more dangerous than human hubris. As far as Saladin and Tyra has said, the only place that SIVA was found was under the plague lands within the replication chamber. Nowhere else on Earth did it seem to exist as far as the Iron Lord's findings are concerned. It could be all the ships containing SIVA did go out into space before the collapse or during it. The only Awoken that seem to be born now are from those that left the reef to try to stay alive, the reef being a tenuous space to exist to begin with, marked with nothing but scattered, hull-ruptured ships. As it is, we still don't know why the majority of the Awoken are women, save a few that we see throughout the grimoire, and of course the Queen's brother, Uldren Sov. Could it be because of the previous interaction that Siva had with the people it came in contact with? Is it simply all that it understands? Other far-flung ideas can be born of this thinking as well, but they are not for here, as we've already gone too far into the tinfoil hat sphere as it is. I will leave those thoughts for you to decide on, with Siva's ability to consume, replicate, enhance. What came out of the Golden Age was an age of vast technology and new ways to use it. We were given the ability to look through time, to extend our age and health past normal human lifespans, especially making us immortal. The Awoken, after all, are just humans, but something had to impose upon them for their existence to become reality. I would love to hear your thoughts on this theory. Do you think there's a shred of truth in this idea? Do you think the Awoken were simply born of the collision of light and the dark in the asteroid belt? What of their ability to communicate with other Awoken? If nothing else, well, what became of Siva on the colony ships? Of course, if you're not sure what to say, but would like to say something, you can leave the phrase, consume, enhance, replicate, demonstrating Siva's constant need to learn, understand, and change. I've been Beard Grizzly, and you can always subscribe for more theories like these, or drop a like or dislike for what you thought of this theory. In any event, Guardians, I will see you next spacetime. Take care.